Episode number 34, or in Spanish, Treinta Cuatro. I think that's probably the closest I've gotten into actually saying Spanish throughout all this time I've been trying. I'm just going to be honest. What's up, YouTube? Jason here with Jason Bytes back again, episode number 34, the series of which I go back throughout the last month. I answer questions and or respond to comments. As always with the series, I give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon subscribers and list your names at the end of this video, guys. Thank you for being sponsors of my show. Thank you, and thank you. And of course, if you want the best chance of having your question answered in next month's Jason Bytes Back, make sure to post those questions in the comments section down below. I always check last month's videos first for good questions before I go rummaging through the rest of them. But anyway, there's not a whole lot to update on the channel. I probably should touch base on the Threadripper. The 3990 came out and I did some deep reflection and I just realized I just can't do it. It's too much. I'm thought about a 3970 just because it's more realistic and Windows can actually use most of those cores. The 3990 not so much. You know, there's a lot of things bouncing around, but basically the ginormous cost of the 3990 is just kind of making me think it would be completely irrational for me to purchase and build a 3990 system. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to, I'm just saying that it's just kind of dumb. But I do know that I've been doing some editing and pretty much running up to a wall of which I need a major SSD upgrade in my editing system. I just never seem to have enough SSD storage space for, you know, caching or just editing video files and transcoding video files in order to work with them. So I'm thinking about either doing like a water-cooled maintenance on my X299 system now and then like refreshing and upgrading some SSD storage while I'm doing that, or just kicking the can down for, you know, something else to come out that's newer and cheaper. I don't know yet. Also, LTX20 is in August. They announced that their tickets are going on sale on March 6th. So if you're going, let me know in the comments down below. I'm already going, booked, and paid for. In fact, I even tweeted Linus and his crew after this whole WAN show thing where he was like, hey, any YouTubers going? Let me know. And then I tweeted and said, hey, I'm going. And I may or may not be added to the little official list now. So, you know, there's kind of like a little on my end. So that was kind of cool. 100K is coming up too. I'm doing the wall thing. Just went to Menards today to get some stuff to add to the background. Going to be slowly changing that as well. In fact, you $10 baller Patreon subscribers probably already know that because I just posted that $10 video yesterday for you. With all that said, and without further ado, let's jump right into the first question, which is from Joey. Plex question. Assuming I have multiple remote connected users accessing my server at the same time, the most I have had simultaneously is 9 users/streams. Is it better to add only 720 movies if they will stream transcode faster, since they're all lower quality at 720 than full 1080p? I assume lower quality equals more streams because they can be active at any given time. Does any of this even matter? Wait, where are my pants? Joey, please do not leave a comment like that with such a cliffhanger. Like, seriously, how am I gonna sleep tonight not knowing where your pants are? Like, that's messed up. But to answer your question, Joey, yes, technically if you have a lower resolution that's being transcoded down to a lower resolution, like the lower the resolution to start off with versus what it's actually targeted to, is gonna be, you know, fewer resources needed. I mean, if you're transcoding a 4K video file versus a 1080p video file, for example, there's a huge differences in resources needed to transcode those media. So if you did want to save your resources, yes, you could store those video files in 720 versus 1080. However, there's a solution, and I think where you're going with this, there's a better option for you, and that's called Plex optimization. Instead of building or storing all of your movies as something as crude or disgusting as 720p and building this library full of basically garbage, what I would recommend is just build your media library as you normally would enjoy inside your own home with regular 1080p or maybe even 4K content. And if you're worried about the processing speed of your Plex media server, what I would do is use the Plex optimize feature. And don't worry, you can actually set Plex to optimize an entire library. If you go into your Plex interface on the top right, there's 3 little buttons that said more. If you click on that, there's an optimize option, and you can optimize your entire Plex library to work with these different devices, like 720p, for example. So you can take all of the content in that library and optimize that on your server's own time to have lower quality versions available, and Plex will automatically select the best possible version for those, offsite transcodes. This will take more storage, and it will temporarily kind of make your server crunch pretty hard on transcoding everything down to 720. However, you'll get that benefit of being able to have the higher quality TV shows and movies inside your own home, and you won't be punishing yourself with low resolution media. And if you find your pants, please let us know. Okay, I don't think I can handle this kind of suspense in my life. Next question is from Michael. Is this mod necessary if using an external enclosure or docking station? Michael's actually referring to the video where I was showing how to disable the third pin on hard drives, those shucked hard drives you get from Western Digital. And my answer is, so far as I know, no. Bear in mind though, I've only used two different enclosures. One is a USB connected thing, which is literally just kind of like a JBOD pass-through for a SATA connection. And the second is like one of those little toasters that I talked about maybe last video. Basically, it's just a USB connected Docker that you can put drives, SSDs into, etc., and test or read and write data or whatever. But they're extremely handy to use, and so far, I've only tested my shuck drives and that's like this little shell iStock thing that I have, and that toaster, neither of which had any issues with the shucked hard drive third pin. So your mileage may still vary, but as far as I know, no. But if anyone out there has ever tried to use a shucked hard drives with a USB connection like this and you had an issue, let me know in the comments down below. Next question is from Accurate Addicted. Robo vacuum is an absolute waste of money. Just get a good quality vacuum and do the work yourself. Much faster and much more efficient. The Dyson I bought, blah, 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 doesn't blah, blah, blah. When it comes to robot vacuums, they are maintainers. No, they're never gonna clean as good as like a big vacuum will, obviously. They're not gonna be able to pick up nearly as much as a regular vacuum can. But having a small vacuum that automatically maintains your rugs, hardwood floors, stuff like that from things like cat hair, kitty litter, or if you have hardwood floors like dust can be a big thing for people. But having a device to automatically maintain your area, that way you don't have to use a vacuum very often, makes it not a waste of money. But then again, it just depends on how much you value your own time. Like for example, I mow my own lawn. I could pay somebody like $50 to mow my lawn for me. But I just don't feel that I'm valuable enough to be able to pay somebody $50 to mow lawn that I can do in 30 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm just not that valuable. The idea of any convenience device like this being a waste of money as a general, statement for every single person on this planet is just, well, obtuse. Next question is from Moreback87. I just bought 4 14 terabyte enclosed drives. Does someone have an idea of how much time it will take to pre-clear a disk? I'm a bit worried it will take me a month, plus SHR rebuild time in my NAS then. Well, when it comes to pre-clearing disk in Unraid, it is not like what you're thinking with FreeNAS. With FreeNAS, when you're, I think it's called resilvering your array, like it takes a long time the bigger your array is because it's like rebuilding the total quantity of the thing, right? Well, with Unraid, the pre-clear time is determined by the size of the biggest disk on the Unraid array. Wow, the biggest disk. So 14 terabyte for me, 12 terabytes usually takes about 26 hours. 10 terabytes, about 24 hours. So if I were to deduce any information from my track record of my servers, I would imagine that your pre-clear of your 14 terabyte drives could take around 28 hours. And if you use a pre-clear plugin in Unraid, if you have them all attached at the same time, you should be able to pre-clear all of those drives at the same time. And of course, that's like one time. If you want to run it like 3 times, then you're going to multiply 28 times 3. So, yeah. Next question is from Valleyman. So my NVIDIA Quadro K4000 graphics card is basically doing nothing. Well, basically, I mean, not all, pretty much though. The Quadro K4000 is kind of old, and although it is unlocked and can do unlimited streams by default, it doesn't really support that much in terms of what it can transcode for you. So it can still do like 422 H.264, but that's about it. So unless you're playing like a 1080p, H.264, 422 video file, then it's probably not going to be doing much for you. However, it is very possible that your K4000 is jumping in and taking a little bit of load off of your CPU most of the time, depending on what your media library is like. So it's probably not completely worthless, it's just not as capable as a more updated graphics card. But honestly, I wouldn't really worry about it unless you're running into an issue of performance on your Plex media server and your CPU doing too much workload. If you're having buffering issues, like if you're having problems, then you can look at your replacing your card. But if everything is working as is, and that K4000 is stepping in to do a little bit of the legwork every once in a while, depending on what media is being played, then if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's all I gotta say. Next question is from Michael Bell. Which Plex Docker for Unraid do you use? That is a great question. I use the Linux server repository. And that pretty much primarily just because there's like a GPU walkthrough that I followed online, and it's like this Docker container repository was just the easiest and included in this little walkthrough guide that I found online. It pretty much just has the whole GPU thing kind of built in, like all the variables and stuff, like just basics built in, so you can enable your graphics card to do the GPU transcoding a lot easier. As far as updates go, I'm really terrible at doing updates, so I couldn't tell you if it's a faster or a slower updated repository or not, but it is one that I use. Next question is from Kanji. What is the rack you are using? Well, that is actually a StarTech 24U rack. I can link in the description down below if Editing Jason remembers to notate this in the publishing notes. But the StarTech 24U rack has been very solid for me. In fact, I have just recently added RGB lights to it. I posted it to Twitter and I even included it in the Patreon video, but RGB lights, except they're just G because I don't really use any other color. It's just green. By the way, StarTech, if you're watching, consider selling a rack mount, especially for us little home enthusiasts like this, that just has RGB built into it. You know, just consider it. RGB is the dumbest thing you can ever do, but I just love it so much. It makes me whole. Next question is from Jeff. He said, hey, I thought you're supposed to be lazy. The solution to your problem is easy. Green screen. Then you can customize the background effortlessly. That is a terrible idea, but thank you though. Actually, I brought this question up because a ton of people were just saying, Jason, just use green screen. Just put a green screen in there. You can make it anything you want, anytime you want. Yeah, that's true, but that's horrible. Believe me, I say this coming from a background when I started my YouTube channel. Everything was green screen, like most of it was green screen. It is kind of a pain in the butt to come up with a background that looks good, that looks natural for every single video. And every single video requires you to key out the background. It requires you to fine tune this key so it looks nice. So all that does is just add one extra step in post editing where you have to change and manipulate and do things to make it look good. It's a pain in the butt. Also, the green screen, the reflections off the tables, that can be a problem. Also, if I'm shooting B-roll, that's another thing. Having things in the background to shoot a B-roll thing. Like you don't want a green screen in the background when you're shooting B-roll. So as a catch-all solution for my situation, the green screen is probably the worst possible idea that I could ever do. Not that it wouldn't be nice to have a green screen wall, like Greg Salazar. He has multiple studios. He's got one where he shoots and talks like this, but he also has a green screen that he stands in front of when he's like displaying information. Like he's standing up in front of him and giving a presentation and he's talking about, I think he does like ad scams or computer scams or something like that. So it would be kind of cool to have like a pull down or something, or just a, I don't know. Next question is from Carrie P. This video was hilarious. I've been researching vibration plates and ran across your review. Are you still using it? And what changes have you noticed if you're still using the machine? Well, Carrie P, the vibrator machine thing is, well, it's a little interesting. Basically, Carrie, if you just stand on the vibrator machine and you don't really do much. Like, you get a little bit of a workout, but really you're just kind of standing there vibrating. And even though your legs are kind of like getting a workout, there's not a whole lot to it if you're just going to be standing there, especially if you try to lock your knees and then stand there and then your knees are just getting jabbed 30 times a second or whatever, however fast it goes. But I am still using it, usually about every other day, sometimes every day, but usually it's about every other day. And I just start doing like up downs where I lean down, I pick up a weight, I'll pick it up. You know, sometimes I'll take barbells and I'll kind of hold them up like this. And then when you're kind of jiggling like that, your arms are trying to keep it steady automatically. So I've noticed anytime I do that, I try to hold it up for a couple minutes at a time, like the muscles get really, really sore. And then when I try to like kneel down and hold myself in a certain position while kneeling down, all that, you know, leg work and trying to stay stable actually makes those muscles sore. So the only thing I can really judge that machine off of is, you know, how sore I feel the next day. Also, another favorite thing of mine is basically doing like a half push-up where you just go halfway down and I just try to hold myself there and like just that back and forth. Like, it's just like doing little micro push-ups. So that machine is actually a great replacement for what I had before, which was literally like a little Stepmaster thing that's built into my home gym thing. And I absolutely hated doing that. But with this, I actually can enjoy standing on it longer and like doing little up downs and holding things up and just kind of doing different exercises on it rather than the same stepping up, which drives me bananas. But I do feel it though. I usually do 10 minutes of one workout and then I get on my little bench press and pull down thing, and I do that for about 5 to 10 minutes and then I'll get back on the machine for another 10 minutes. It's a very light workout, but I definitely feel it in my legs depending on what exercise I'm doing. Next question is from Alex. Why do I have the feeling Jason is being that guy right now? He does it, then soon after, everyone does it and ruins it for everybody else. He's talking about the hard drive shucking warranty video that I made about Western Digital. And Alex, you might be right. I could be that guy that ruins it for everybody else. But I look at it like this. Western Digital, very large company. They know what they're doing. They're selling these hard drives with a lesser warranty time frame for some reason. I mean, no one really knows why they're capable of selling these drives for so much cheaper than the OEM drives that you get in a box. I mean, was it some sort of a quality like inspection thing? Did it not pass some kind of a test? I mean, who really knows? At the end of the day though, Western Digital is selling these drives at a profit margin where they're still making money. Just because I shucked one, warranted it, and proved that the warranty still works, at least in the United States, I really highly doubt Western Digital is going to change anything for anybody else. There is a reason they sell those drives the way they do. I don't know why, but they do. So that's their decision. They have them labeled as such. They know what they are. They know what they're doing. And all I did was prove that they're willing to back up their hard drives, which is a good thing. I mean, come on. Shucked or not, it's still a hard drive. Next question is from Dan. Do you still use pfSense on that Dell 1U server? Any plans to upgrade it to like an Ivy Bridge CPU for better performance with lower power consumption, or maybe switch it to something else? Well, Dan, the R210-2, that little 1U Dell server, yes, I still run pfSense on it. And in fact, most of the time I forget it even exists, honestly. I never mess with it. I hardly ever update it, which I really, really should, but it's just one of those things. I set it up, it never breaks, never gives me any problems. I never have to change anything or do anything. It just kind of sort of always works. Sometimes I have to log in to see what something was assigned for DHCP if I'm like adding a new camera, and I'll add manual routes. So there are times that I do log in to use it, which is usually just for adding cameras or changing something on the network. But for the most part, it just kind of handles everything by itself and it works fantastic. As far as power goes, whether it's using power or upgrading to get something that's faster, I don't have any desire or any need for that. From a cost standpoint, I don't think anything I'm going to buy that is that small, quiet, and just kind of built up as it is going to give me any kind of a return on my investment anytime soon for the difference in the power that it consumes. And for the actual raw horsepower of that R210, I just don't run into any situation where I feel like my network is bogged down by the limitation of that server. I mean, you got to think, right now I'm only running like really maybe 2 or 3 heavy devices on my network. There's a lot of stuff on my network, but really only 2 or 3 of them at any one point in time is going to be a heavy use. So already a Dell R210 is super overpowered for my network. Getting anything more powerful just would be nothing but just for the lulz or for the flex. So at this moment, no, zero plans to replace it, not until it breaks. Next question is from Das Gamer Man. Unraid question: is there any point in having SSD cache drives if your network is only 1 gigabits per second? Absolutely. Yes, 1 gigabit per second, Nick, is only going to give you like what, 125 megabytes per second write speed to one of your hard drives, potentially not even maxing out one of your hard drives if you're copying data over. That's true. However, the cache drive is used for other things: app data, Docker containers, things that are stored on this SSD that's ran locally on your Unraid server that are going to be greatly enhanced by using and running an SSD. And even if you don't want to use your SSD for an actual cache drive for your array, you still want that cache drive, or at least an SSD in your server, to be used for these installations. Basically, SSDs are magical and they're cheap, so there's really no reason not to use one to make your server faster. Next question, and the last question. Not only the last question for this video, but the last question of this series, from Marcus, who asked Fruity Pebbles versus Captain or Peanut Butter Captain Crunch. Well, you hit it. That's my favorite cereal. Peanut Butter Captain Crunch is my all-time, long-time favorite cereal. I usually buy Peanut Butter Captain Crunch and eat it by like the large bowl, and I just indulge myself in the beautiful, delicious peanut butterness. You know, like that is my go-to cereal. So everything from here on out, thank you very much for playing, Marcus. That is my favorite cereal. I have no others. If I had a second runner-up, I would say Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That's probably my second runner-up. Definitely, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. But if I had to eat one cereal for the rest of my life, it would be Peanut Butter Captain Crunch. So that's it for today, guys. That is all the questions. Again, if you want the best possible chance of having your question answered in next month's Jason Bytes Back video, leave your questions in the comments down below. Keep an eye out for those awesome Patreon subscribers at the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching, like, and subscribe, and have yourself a great day. Tell you what, LTX 2020, I really hope this whole thing going on, this thing of which that cannot be named in fear of being demonetized, is not going on when this happens, because, you know, that is like a meeting of a bunch of people from all over the world. Last year at LTX, like I was looking at their map and they literally just had people from every place on the planet. It was crazy. Like there's only like what, 3,000 or 4,000 people there, but they were just from everywhere. So, you know, any of these cons like this, like it's so easy to get sick. I mean, last CS, I literally just got wrecked 2 days into CS and I was just done. It was the first time getting the flu, honestly, and it kind of wrecked me, and I'm really not looking forward to getting anything worse at LTX. So hopefully this whole, you know, thing going on, I know media's kind of blowing everything out of proportion a little bit, but there's also a little bit of like, you know, China not reporting everything. That, I don't know, there's a whole lot of like, I just kind of want to hide in my basement until this thing's over type of stuff going on. But there's also like, you know, I don't want to miss LTX. So I may or may not show up at LTX with like a full body like suit, like hazmat, you know, suit. That might be a thing. Bright orange too, you know. Might even do a custom print. I don't know what I would put on it though. Like if I were to have like a bright orange hazmat suit, I don't know what I would put on it. I'd have to print something very creative, very fun, probably something slightly trolly, you know. I don't know. I'll have to think that over. Any ideas though, let me know.